Ferrigno here, the tiger salamander.
I'm Peterson, the herpetologist here. I wanted to talk today about Dimetrodon. And the time I actually got to interact with a real-life Dimetrodon, it was actually outside of a castle in England. But I guess before I talk about that, I want to talk about Dimetrodon as a genus in general at first. I mean, look at these guys. Crazy. The big thing you notice is the big sail on their back, right? That sail has a bunch of different functions. First, they thought that it had something to do with temperature regulation and that, it's a lot of surface area, and so maybe it would be good for standing sideways in the sun and picking up rays, or maybe there's a lot of surface area and some wind could fly across that sail and it could cool the blood that might be in the skin of the Dimetrodon. Another thing that they thought was that it would benefit in male-male competition. And so I don't know if you've seen this, but when chameleons fight, they're also kind of a laterally compressed reptile. Well, not that this is a reptile, more to talk about on that in a second. But chameleons, when they go to fight, they stand sideways. And so their laterally compressed body looks even bigger to the other males that they're fighting with. And so this could have been a mechanism to look bigger to fight with other males. It also could have just been an honest signal. I mean, not only do they look bigger, but they are stronger, and that would be a reason to be scared of someone. I mean, is it better to get in a bloody fight and lose, or is it better to lose and run away because the other person you're fighting with just looks bigger and scarier? So I think I'd rather just run away if they're bigger. Another thing that they may have done with these sails, and it comes back to this picture of the Dimetrodon genus over here and the different members, is they think that they might have had pigmentation that was in the sail. And so getting back to my chameleon example, when a chameleon loses, it actually becomes darker in pigmentation. And my friend Rusty did this research in Arizona, and he had captive chameleons, and he saw that the losers actually got darker in color, and maybe to make the male they lost to forget that they exist, that maybe they have regular coloration that other males would recognize, but when they go dark, it might make the winner forget them. Could be. Same thing could have happened in Dimetrodon. Another thing is if you're going to bite a dinosaur's back, the sail might have been good protection, and you might have been stabbed through the mouth, and so maybe it could have been anti-predator as well. I don't know. The last thing is potentially for female attraction. Looking bigger to females. Female herps tend to like bigger males. This is true across the animal world in general. And, maybe the coloration showed the females that they were more successful, more fit. And sometimes with pigmentation in birds, they actually get pigmentation from plants that are toxic. And so, maybe if they have more coloration, they're stronger and they can take this toxin, another honest signal to females that they're good to mate with. So now that we're done talking about Dimetrodons and kind of the function of this sail, I want to mention my Dimetrodon that I was able to interact with. And so I encountered this Dimetrodon. No, actually, that is what I saw. That's actually a picture of the one I saw. But during the breeding season, they look like this. You see it? It looks like a Dimetrodon. Oh my goodness. You are reacting the same way that I did when I first saw these pictures. Blew my mind. So these are great-crested newts, and we actually found them in this pond that was outside of this castle I know, it was amazing. We got to stay there for a week. Unbelievable. So what's the purpose of these sails? The interesting thing about the sails is they actually grow during the breeding season. And then it regresses during the non-breeding season, but there's still a little bit of sail yet left. And so maybe it could have some similar purposes as Dimetrodon. Maybe it's a way to gain or lose heat. I don't think so, but maybe. Maybe it's to make them look bigger in the water to ward off other males. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it has to do with pigmentation and attracting females during the day. But these guys reproduce at night. And so what could be some other reasons? In general, in amphibians, the more surface area they have on the skin, the better they can respire and breathe through their skin. And so maybe this flap helps them to gain more oxygen and release CO2. And a bulked up male ready to reproduce is using more oxygen and maybe needs the increased oxygen and CO2. The main thing we think is that it does probably have something to do with females in the dark, and we know this in salamanders that they use pheromones to communicate. This is so evolutionarily advantageous. You even have plethodon salamanders like this that have these labial fangs that attach to a nasolabial groove that send odors up into their brain. And it's a great way to attract females, and they do all sorts of other communication with these as well. And so pheromones are big in salamanders, and newts in particular. Having a big sail like this would be tons more surface area for glands in your skin to secrete these special pheromones that might attract the females or communicate how amazingly studly you are. And we know that pheromones work in humans. We don't have tons of studies, but you take pictures of attractive males and you have them take off their shirts, and then the female smells shirts. The ones that they actually find the most attractive visually tend to be the ones that odoriferously, they also find those as attractive. So crazy things about pheromones. The last thing I want to get at about Dimetrodon that I didn't bring up is when I go to a toy store, I don't want to see this in with the dinosaurs. I don't want to see pterodactyls, pterosaurs like this in the toy section. I don't want to see mesosaurs. I don't want to see ichthyosaurs, because none of those are dinosaurs. And so, what is Dimetrodon? It's actually an early mammal. How do we know this? When you actually look at their teeth, oh goodness, this toy is crap. Well, if you looked at the real skull of a Dimetrodon, like this, you would see that the teeth have different sizes and shapes. They have things like incisors, our front teeth. They have some teeth that are more like canines. We have one, but they might have multiple. And they also had smaller teeth that would work more like incisors, or that would work more like molars. And so we have evidence to think that these guys are more closely related to mammals. Wow. So the next time you go to the pet store or to the toy store, I want you to get really irate and complain to the management. And this is what I normally do. I go,